You want to do those? Rising stars, when we nursing homes like that.
30 seconds. Everyone.
There you go. Go tell Becky to bring your chairs. Yeah.
All right, it is 6 o'clock, and we'll call the meeting to order and announce that we do have a quorum present. At this time, if you join me for a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you, God, so much for giving us this beautiful day to come together and work together as a community. Lord, thank you for this group of individuals who serve this community. Lord, thank you for the citizens that have come here tonight to be a part of the governing of this city and our community. Lord, thank you for our men and women, military, who serve and protect us daily so that we can have the freedoms that we have here in America. Lord, I thank you so much, especially for the rain that you've given us, and I pray for more. And I know that all things happen in your time and not on our scales. So, Lord, if it be your will, please bring the rain back to us soon. Lord, thank you most of all for your Son, Christ Jesus, who died for each and every one of our sins and each and every one of us individually. Thank you so much for him, and it's in his holy name I pray. Amen. Amen. All right, if you will join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I'll open council comments. This is an opportunity for council to speak, express thanks, congratulations, or condolences information on holiday schedules, recognition of public officials, employees, or citizens other than employees or officials whose status may be affected by the council through action, reminders of the community events, and update on city properties, and to share with our citizens information we have. At this time, council have any comments?
I have one. So I was asked to announce that the Clyde Police Department will be hosting a National Night Out Tuesday, October 1st, 2024 from 5 to 7. It'll be held at our public safety complex with fire, EMS, police, and the Aerovac helicopter will be there. So y'all come out and meet and greet with all our first responders, and be a great night out. Any further details you can get with the Clyde Police Department.
Very good. Any other council comments? All right, I have one. I'd like to read a statement. Dear attendees of tonight's City Council meeting, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to each one of you for your valuable feedback and input. The City Council of Clyde is fully committed to addressing your concerns and criticism while actively working towards the progress of our city. Over the past 12 years, both this council and its predecessors have hesitated to make tough decisions concerning utility and tax rates. Despite being repeatedly advised by experts, consultants, the city administrator, and the city secretary about the necessity of adjusting rates to keep up with inflation and fund vital projects for Clyde's aging infrastructure and climate-related challenges. The council chose to absorb increasing costs instead of passing them on to citizens, largely due to social media criticism and pressure stemming from misinformation. As many of you are aware, the city has defaulted on the payment of 2 of its bonds, which are publicly traded securities and are indirectly regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. As such, and on the advice of our bond counsel, we are limited in the public statements we can make with regards to the bonds and city's financial condition. We are fully aware of the need to make difficult decisions to drive our city forward. Tonight, we will work towards resolving these issues by considering increasing the property tax rate and rates for utility services. We request your understanding and patience as we navigate through these tough and often unpopular choices, all aimed at fulfilling our responsibility to provide the citizens of Clyde with excellent municipal services and to foster a resilient, vibrant community. Council have any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I will close the council comments section. We'll open up public comment sections. At this time, anyone will be allowed to speak on any matter other than personnel matters or matters under litigation for a length of time not to exceed 3 minutes. No council or board discussion or action may take place on a matter until such matter has been placed on an agenda and posted in accordance with law. So at this time, I'm going to call on these individuals that have filled out a form. If there's any others that want to speak, they'll be welcome to speak also. Again, note, you have 3 minutes. There will be no council discussion. There will be no comments from the council. So at this time, I have Steve Niffen. Mr. Niffen, if you would come forward.
Wait for the tax hearing.
Yes, sir. Okay, no problem. At this time, if Mr. Stephen Steele would come forward, give your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name is Stephen Steele. I live at 809 Waldemar Drive. On August 16th, we were all surprised to hear that the city of Clyde had defaulted on its bond payments. Concerned citizens reached out to you for answers, and we got nothing. News stations reached out. Again, nothing. State reps reached out. Still nothing. I don't know who told you guys to keep your mouth shut, but that's one bit of advice you should not have listened to. Because all that's done is drawn attention that we don't need. It caused unnecessary speculation. It caused some of us to start digging. And we don't like what we found. On May the 10th, 2022, this council elected to burden their taxpayers with $14.3 million in debt without a public vote. You used a loophole intended to offer funding when time is of the essence in emergency situations to circumvent a public vote. And then you can't afford to repay the loan. While nothing you did is illegal, it is most definitely unethical, and we are here to put you on notice. This type of underhanded, behind our back, throwing your citizens under the bus governing will not be tolerated. You have placed this city in a debt situation that it is unlikely to be able to recover from for the foreseeable future. The people on this council don't seem to understand the dire situation you have put us in. The $35 addition to the water bill is the difference between being able to eat and not for some people. And you act like it's no big deal. Have you not seen the long line out for the food bank truck out here? You want to do right in Clyde, stop wastefully spending, accept that you've made some grave mistakes, and honestly step down. City manager, I personally left you a voicemail. You couldn't even show me enough respect to return the call. Paul, I sent you an email asking to be put on the agenda tonight, and not a peep, not a word, not a response. Mr. Mayor, your Facebook comments about cuckoos and general stupidity is out of line. We are the citizens of Clyde, and we have every right to question everything you guys do. We have a responsibility to do it. I've talked to most of you individually, and individually, that's what you say.
You go, Stephen.
Stop. Hey, outbursts like that will be asked to be removed, so stop. We will have proper decorum in here tonight, so stay with it. You can put your sign down too, that won't help anything. So next up will be Chris Wingert. Mr. Wingert, if you will step forward. If you will come to the podium, give your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris Wingard. I live at 1732 Alamo Court here in Clyde. We're new people to Clyde. Came over from Abilene. I'm retiring soon, so I was quite concerned and surprised to hear about the default on the bond payments. Now, I guess I just have a couple of questions. First of all, in your bond covenant, did you not have a coverage provision in there?
Mr. Winger, again, as stated, we can't respond or.
Well, typically, let me talk in general terms.
Yes.
Typically, bond covenants have a coverage provision, and it's designed to prevent what just happened, a default on a payment. And so I'm wondering why the city, if they didn't have one, why they didn't have one in place, and if they did, what happened to the money that was designated for that coverage? The other thing is, I've been in the public sector for 40-plus years. I've never lived in a city and have never managed a district that is defaulted on bonds. That's something that you watch very, very carefully. As far as your revenue streams, you should anticipate when you're going to have some drought and some revenue decreases and make provisions in your bank accounts and so forth to cover that. That's typically what's done. And so I was wondering why that was not done in this case. Again, I'm brand new. I don't know the ins and outs of this, but this was just some things that bubbled up to the surface in my mind as I read the news accounts, which may or may not be accurate. So appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Winger, appreciate that. At this time, Lenny Branton, if you would step forward and.
May I wait until after you discuss the water rates increase?
You may, yes, absolutely. When we get to the public hearing part of that, you can step forward and speak on that.
Okay, that's what I want to speak
So she
on.
needs to speak now. There's no public hearing on the, unless she wants to speak during the public hearing.
Okay, so there is not a public hearing on the water rate, but on our proposed budget. So you could step forward during the time of the proposed budget, but you'd only be able to talk about the budget. So you may be better off to speak now, I'm not sure.
This is embarrassing. Embarrassing. I grew up most of my life in Clyde, came back here. And this is embarrassing that we have TV cameras all around because you people will not speak to us, and you will not speak to the news media. And I'm disappointed. I'm just so disappointed in our government system, our city government. Some of us spent a lot of years in the back before getting some things developed in this city, and it's gone. You did away with our Chamber of Commerce. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. None. And I think you, Mr. McGuire, should resign. Yes. And if you don't resign, we're gonna do everything in our power to get you out of here. This is wrong. You came in and you've ruined our city with the help of these people. And some of you are Clydeites. You're Clydeites. How could you do this to our city? How could you? Roger, how could you? I think you should all be embarrassed. I think you should be repentant, and I think you should do whatever you can to change this. I'm one of the blessed, I'll go ahead and call myself elderly because I am. Just had my 77th birthday. I'm blessed with a monthly income where I can pay my water bill. I have 2 water bills. I've got one house that I flush the commode in maybe 10 times a month. It's a hobby house. And yet the water bill, water, trash, everything in that's nearly $90. I wash a few dishes there, teach a few art classes there, and flush the commode there a few times a month. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I am a widow living alone, washing clothes for one person. No dishwasher. I don't use a dishwasher. I wash a few dishes by hand. And I have water bills like $120, $130. I don't water with city water. Now, how can you stand there and tell me you're going to increase my water bill by $30-something?
Okay.
Because you don't have to pay a water bill. So,
Anyway, your 3 minutes are up, Ms. Brandt. Thank you for your comments.
you're quite welcome.
All right, I don't have any other cards. Do I have anybody else that would like to speak? Yes, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Camilla Lynn White, address 525 South First Street West. I would love to have gotten answers from you guys. I tried to get on the agenda. I came in and did this the proper way, and I was told y'all were too full or wouldn't do it. So, one, I find that unacceptable. Y'all knew what was coming. You knew people are mad. You wouldn't even put it on the agenda so somebody could get an answer, what minimal you can give. You couldn't even give us the dignity of giving us what little bit you could tell us. You wouldn't even let nobody put it on the agenda and address you people and have conversation instead of talking to the wall. I would have loved to have heard what you could give us, whether or not, I mean, there's been a lot of projects going on. I'm sure our water supply has been used a lot for all these streets, sewer improvements for these homes that ain't even built yet. So our lake is low for a lot of reasons, and I've asked in the past, how can we support all this? How can we have this much stuff going on and still, we're on water restriction? This was last year. Now we're at the point you're saying our water is so low, this is the cause of our problem now with non-payment. These questions have been asked, it's been addressed. I've lived here 23 years, and I tried to get on y'all's agenda. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to say what needs to be said, whether there's some things that by legal assistance you can't, but you're not even willing to tell everybody what's going on. But we can see for ourselves all this construction and other development that's gone through that maybe y'all have overextended yourselves. This ain't a matter of utilities. You're buying up property that you need to have easement. You're putting in development, giving these guys, getting them off the hook, putting all the stuff in for them and giving them no timeline as to when to build these houses. Like over here at the Legacy, that sat for 2-3 years with all their stuff put in, and they didn't build a house one for 2 or 3 years. The city's been getting walked on, and everybody thinks this is such a great idea. And how do you think this is all going to get supported? Now here we are, you're 2 to 3 payments behind, and the city's sitting here wondering what the hell's going to happen to us. So that's all I have to say about it. I tried to get it to where y'all would talk, but I was refused too much on the agenda and told no. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. White. All right, do we have anybody else that would like to speak? Yes, ma'am. You'll come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Faye Shelton, 709 Waldemar Drive.
I'm sorry, what was it?
Faye
Faye Shelton.
Shelton. Sorry, my voice is cracking, but I just want to ask you all to look out here at these faces. We have people in this very room that have to decide already, do I buy medicine? Do I buy groceries? We have mamas whose babies have outgrown their shoes. How am I going to get them shoes, they're thinking? We have people whose cars are breaking down. They don't have the money to fix it so they can drive to Abilene and go to work. This is reality in Clyde. You can't raise their typical water bills any further. Mine, I'm just like Lenny. I have $130 average water bill. I live in a small 2-bedroom, 1-bath. It's just me. I don't water my yard. Heaven forbid I should do that. And I don't use extra water. I mean, I am very careful. And it's $130 a month. I can't imagine how these folks that are having to decide between the two are going to make this extra $35. Mayor, they can't do it. Please have compassion. Look at their faces and have compassion. I know we have to do something, but I don't want that to be the something. let's figure out another way.
Thank you, Ms. Shelton. All right, anybody else?
I would like to speak.
All right, come on up and say your name. Before you do.
No, I was gonna ask if y'all could turn the lights up back here, the people watching on YouTube.
Do we have?
It's really dark.
My name is Bobby Keith. My address is 112 Plum Street here in Clyde. Only thing I gotta say is, this is ridiculous, us all out there standing in the hallway. You can't hear a darn thing that's going on in here. Y'all knew that this was gonna be a big meeting. Now what are y'all thinking? Keeping us all out there in the hall, no one can hear anything. Are y'all, I mean, it's bad enough no one answers questions, but now we're out there and we can't hear anything either. Y'all knew that this was gonna be a big meeting. Why didn't y'all have some speakers out there or something for folks to hear? That's what I gotta say.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Keith.
Mayor, we can seat some people right here on the floor.
I'd like to speak.
Yes, come on in, please.
My name is Ralph Horton. I live at 640 Goins Street. I'm new to this town. I've only been here 10 years. I don't know who any of you are, but I know you're doing something with our money, and you're not holding yourselves accountable for it, and you don't want to be held accountable for it. I think some answers need to be coming forth from this city council and this mayor, whoever you are. I have no idea who any of you are. I don't really care. I don't want to be your friend. I'm 78 years old. My wife died a year ago. My water bill has almost doubled since my wife died. I use half the amount of water. I don't water my grass. I try to pay my bills on time, every time. And now you're gonna tack another 35 or 40 bucks onto me every month? How about you come pay my water? Do you pay a water bill? I don't think so. Not from what I've read. I may be misinformed, but I think you people need to get it together and start answering some questions. And I think there's some attorneys out there that might be interested in asking you some questions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Come in, please. State your name and address for the record.
Mark Batis. I live on Osborne Road. If y'all don't know where it is, it's next to the burrito place. I've lived here for 46 years. And I've never seen this kind of unconscionable action done by the city council. I had 4 children go to school and graduate from school here. I was a former Cub Master. I was also a Scout Master. Very active in the Catholic Church. I helped build the Cowboy Church. What I would like to know is, when did the city get into the sports business? All you're supposed to be responsible for is public services and this public security. Not building sport complexes, not spending our money without our say-so to build a sport complex, and then lying to the people in this town by saying Hannah's paid for all this, when all they did was pay you to put their name on this place. That's a hell of a debt for what, $1.5 million, I think it was. And all they're paying you is $20,000 so they could stick their name on it, and you're telling everybody they paid for this? That's unconscionable. What other lies have you done to these people in this town? You want growth? You're never going to get any growth unless you start playing it straight across the board with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bates. Yes, sir. If you'll come forward to the podium, state your name and address, please. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Bo Davidson, and I live on Rusk Street. And I'm here to, I see that the city is in a state where, if the revenue stays where it's at, it's going to be insolvent. And in fact, it already is insolvent. The enterprise fund only had $40,000 at the end of the month. And so, and that's without having to pay the 2013 B series of bonds. Now, I help take care of elderly family members here, and they can't afford an increase. I think the city needs to do a few things to try to put less of the burden on the citizens. Maybe look at into liquidation or whatever they need to do to put less of a burden on the citizens. And you know, because I see since December 2021, we have, you know, an overall capital assets increase of about $41 million. And with all city debts, pension liabilities, interest, everything, from now and for the next 29 years, that's going to be $70.7 million. And something needs to be done to help pay that back so the city's not as dependent on a revenue stream as much as making it completely unaffordable for our elderly citizens here in Clyde, Texas. And one last thing is our biggest problem that I've had is just the lack of transparency. You know, we found out this from the national news, from Bloomberg, and we've heard nothing from that point. And that's all I see.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. All right, is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am, if you'll step up here, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Ashlyn Lovell. I'm at 434 Fairmont Street. I'm arguably one of the younger people in here because I'm not 30 yet. The bonds that y'all have taken out for the city, my daughter, who's only one, is still going to be the one paying for. We're supposed to have a pipeline that was already supposed to be built. We all know that cost was calculated in 2013. We're in 2024 now. That's 11 years. We know that's probably at least tripled. And my daughter has to pay for that. Like, how are we going to continue to tax these elderly people and the community of Clyde when we all know everyone right now is very much struggling, especially $35 adding on to these water bills that are already outrageous? I've been out in Odessa for the last 6 years of my life, and let me tell you, my water bill was never over $120, and that was watering my front and backyard, and I could have built a whole nother house in my backyard. That's how big it was. So seeing what y'all have done to the city has been an absolute embarrassment. And all we are really asking for is for y'all to be transparent so we can work together to find a solution to take care of the city debt that they have acquired to this point. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. All right, anyone else like to speak? If you'll step up to the podium and state your name. Give me 1 second to say something.
Yes, sir, sure.
Is there anyone out here that also would like to speak, public comments? Please come forward. Thank you. I apologize that we don't have speakers in the hallway, so I want to make sure that those people are reached. Yes, sir.
All right, my name's Arlie Hunter. I live at 222 Elm Street here in Clyde. I've recently moved out here about 8 years ago, married my wife, because I wanted to get out of the BS that I was living out in Abilene and all that. I moved out to Clyde because I liked the fact it was rural country and it was affordable to live. Well, everything that's happened the past few years from me moving out here, my house payment has gone up over almost $500 in just 3 years. Part of it's the economy, I understand that, but a lot of it's some of the taxes that have gone up that I just don't see why we're paying so much more taxes when all of a sudden we're in a deficit. And there's money missing, I don't know, but there's someone said there's reported money missing. Then why are we trying to raise more taxes to make up a deficit that we shouldn't be in to begin with? There's something wrong somewhere in the bookkeeping, and somewhere down the line, there's a decimal point in the wrong place. I'm a welder for a living, Boilermaker. Been doing it for 30 years. And the companies I work for, if they ran their business the way this is running, we'd be bankrupt 25 years ago. And that's the bottom line. Somebody's not paying attention to books good enough. Or by God, someone's padding the books a little bit. I don't know. I can't say that 100%. But something is not right with the books somewhere down the line. And that's the way I see it, and that's the way a lot of people I know see it. I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
I don't like crowds. Most of y'all know me. No, I don't like to talk in front of people. That's a joke for those of y'all that do know me.
Wait, real quick for those.
Sorry, Jeff Burton, 1103 South 4th Street.
Thank you, Bert.
I'm gonna take a little different route from most people that came up here. I believe we're a day late and $35 short each month on stopping the water thing, stopping the taxes. I get that. What I want to say is, you know, as we got together at the park and visited as a community, which I would hope you guys would help us with. One of the things we came up with is none of us believe you guys are thieves. None of us. I want that to be known right now. I don't believe anybody up there's a thief. I think funds have been put to things that maybe weren't prioritized properly. You know, the biggest problem we have right now is that pipeline coming in here for water. You know, if that lake continues to dribble, we got to have a pipeline somehow. One of the things I want to say is, y'all are there because we trust you. You're elected officials. We trust you. And I hope and pray that that trust is not misguided, that we're putting it in the right place. If you're on this board, please find a way to focus more on the priorities than the desire for growth. I'm all for growth. My business depends on it. But I'm also all for making sure that my kids have water and they don't have bills that they can pay. So, thank you.
Roger, I'd like to speak, but I can't come up there, so I can speak from here.
Yes, just state your name and, okay.
From 113 Austin.
Right.
And my father-in-law, as many of you all know, I have a ministry here in Clyde, love Clyde. And I also back up Jeff. I don't think any one of us believe that anything is illegal been done. Not a single one of us that was at the meeting on Saturday. That's not true. I think it's just misinformation, miscommunication, and mismanagement. That's just the way it is. And I love Clyde, would do anything for Clyde. Most of you know me. Most of you know I do lots of ministry in Clyde. And Roger, we've been friends for how long? Danny?
Long time now. Our kids really,
Right.
oh, okay.
So, I mean, come on, guys. I, for one, back you 100%, but it's time for somebody to be held accountable. It's not fair to the citizens. There again, my water bill will go, if you tack on $35, will go up to $165. It's just me, I'm a widow. Me and my little dog can't do $165 worth of water. And I wash my dishes by hand like Lenny. So, I mean, I don't water grass either. It's come to the point to where we can't go up on water anymore. We've got to find a solution together. And not speaking to us and not being informative, like everybody's saying, it's just caused lots of heartache and lots of questions. And lots of comments from people who shouldn't be making comments. They don't even live here. So, I mean, we've made national news. That's really sad. It's really very disheartening. When I come from a family that owned half of Clyde, I bet he's turning over in his grave right now. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Harbor. I'm taking notes, y'all. That's why I'm not calling right away, so bear with me, please. Okay, anybody else like to speak?
They may ask back here, it's full back here.
Who, I'm sorry, what?
It's full back here. Does anybody want to speak?
Well, I have a question, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Up to the podium and state your name and address, please.
Okay, I don't have a pie. Okay.
You don't have a what?
I don't have, only a Mr. Rick.
Trash can?
Pat Howe, 401 Ridgeway. I've lived here a long time too. Thank goodness I'm this old. My question isn't with that, but my statement is, I drink lots of water. I drink lots of water. And when I get it out of the faucet and it's brown,
And so I called City Hall and asked the ladies at the front, what's wrong with the water? They keep telling me there's something wrong with the water, and they say, no, the water's good. We test it every day, 2 or 3 times sometimes, but your water's good. And I said, thank you, and I hang up. And then the next day, I get a letter in the mail that was back last month, that the water wasn't any good last month. Why is it that if it's tested 2 or 3 times a day, why do we get a letter a month late as to the water wasn't any good? And it says something, you know, I mean, I took it that if I drank it and I got sick, go to the doctor, is kind of the way I took that letter. But why can't we have clear water? I understand, and may be wrong, but I understand we buy water from Abilene that's already processed. Is that right?
Treated.
Treated? That's the word, I'm sorry, treated. If we buy it treated from Abilene, what happens from Abilene to my faucet? I mean, I don't know. But there's something wrong with us not having good water to drink, not bad water to drink. Since it's not a question about blaming y'all, can you answer that question?
Can't answer that question.
No.
It's in a whole different segment.
You can come to City Hall tomorrow, we can sit down with you and talk about it, but we can't answer during this.
Oh, okay. All
But we
right.
would love to have anybody come down to City Hall, actually come to City Hall and ask the questions that are being asked now instead of going to social media to ask those questions, so,
Will we actually get to talk to you?
yes.
Yeah, when you
Because
come.
we haven't been allowed to.
No,
That's
I
not
can't get his
All right,
answer.
hold
He
on,
doesn't
wait,
call
stop.
back. You're not here.
I have to, again, no, Miss Howe, you're fine, you're doing good. I just have to make sure that I don't respond because we are not allowed to respond.
Okay.
So to begin having a conversation in the crowd would be against the rules, so I
Well,
just wanted to
I'm
make
just
sure
curious
that I
as to-
stopped that.
Do y'all have yucky water? Yes. Yeah, does it not scare you when you get a letter and it says that there's something been wrong with the water and it was
Okay,
last month?
again, Miss Howe, you need to address
I'm
council,
sorry,
please.
I'm sorry, I'm.
No, you're fine, you're fine. I
Just-
just need you to
talking.
address council if you.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir, if you'd like to come forward.
My name's Michael Wagner. I live on Hunt Street. I want to ask you, that water you got right there,
Yes, sir. I can't answer, but
I
go
know
ahead.
you can't answer that, but that don't look like the water that came out of my faucet.
That's right.
Talk to me after the meeting, Mr.
And I had it tested by a private company. I wish I'd brought my paperwork. But that water is not fit to drink, and I don't even give it to my cats.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Wagner. Anybody else like to speak? Yes, ma'am. Come on up here. Hold on, please. Got one ahead of you.
Sorry, my tongue's dancing in my mouth.
No, you're fine. Mine too, believe me.
You know, one thing that
Wait, real quick, name.
Glenda
Yes,
Farmer,
Thank you.
and I'm at, on Southwest Drive, 105. One of the things that's sitting here, we come for answers. You know, the answers I'm gonna get today are not on the agenda. So we're dancing around that too. But you know, I don't know about everybody here, but I feel like y'all work for me. In fact, I'll bet you that my taxes pays some people's bills here, hers and yours and whatever. So I'm not a very good employer if my employees are taking me under. And I think that's the way I feel about all this. Then when I come here to get answers, yes, you can answer me. You work for me. You don't, I don't work for you. You know, so we're gonna raise your rates on your water to cover our mistakes, and that's what you're telling me. You know, we got a big debate going on TV right now between two people trying to be a president. And I feel like that y'all are lying to us just about the way they lie to each other. But I think that you need to quit dancing around it. We have a right to fire you. We pay your wages. So we're really not here, we don't have to ask all these questions. You work for us. No, we don't need to raise our rates on our water to cover your mistakes. We're not here to keep covering up all this stuff. Let's get to the root of it. I don't know if you had economics in school, but you can't pay out more than you bring in. And we're paying out a lot more than we're bringing in. This isn't a joke. Y'all are looking here going, well, we can't talk to you. Yes, you can talk to us, and you need to talk to us. Because what you're doing to us is not right. And we don't need to pay you more to keep you in business so we can pay your wages. So, you know, it's kind of come to the end. No, we don't need to come up and talk to you tomorrow about dirty water. The water you can't drink, I even worry about putting a raincoat on when I take a shower because I don't know what I'm getting on me. And you're going to say it's going to cost you more to get wet? No. You work for us. We need to find a solution. And if you can't fix it, we need to fire you. I'm an employer. You're my employee. And so that, I mean, I've been sitting back there listening to these desperate people. I'm very desperate too. My water bill's $200. And so I pay it because I want to continue to get it. But I think we can do a better job. And I think as the citizens that's here tonight, they're an employer too, and you work for all of us in this room. So that's all. I tried to keep my mouth shut, and I just couldn't. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Farmer. Appreciate that. Yes, ma'am. You were wanting to speak.
Anita Crosskoff, 116 Austin Street. Anita Crosskoff, 116 Austin.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I understand that 3 years ago, we got the final easement for the pipeline. Instead of building a big sports complex, which is not, if it had been put to vote, it probably wouldn't have passed. Why didn't we start the pipeline then? We could have borrowed money for that instead of the complex. And we could have had water now. And if we want to default on that, well, that's a different story. But to have a complex, which nobody cared about, I don't think you have your priorities straight. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Crosskoff. Anybody else like to speak? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward.
My name is Alicia Wingert. We are at 1732 Alamo Court. We've only been there 4 weeks. My water bill was triple, double, quadruple what everybody else is saying theirs is, so oops. I must be doing something wrong. We emailed the mayor. He emailed us back within the hour. He answered every single question we asked, which we appreciate very much. Our water is beautiful. I've been in Abilene 18 years and it is horrible. I will not drink it. My husband's with the water district. He drinks it all the time, but I won't touch it. The water here is beautiful. My toilets aren't filthy. My showers aren't filthy. I wonder if some of the problem might not be the infrastructure for the older homes here. Maybe they're getting their pipes. Maybe the pipes in their homes need to be tested. But we don't, and I got beat up on Facebook trying to just say we did get the answers that we asked. We may not like them, but they are answers. And we know the pipeline's not going to happen, so maybe somebody should tell everybody it's not going to happen. It was a bad investment, and we need to recover from it. Let's start giving people fines for lawns, yards, trash. Let's go back to making money for the city. I know people complain about the police giving them tickets and stopping them. And I'm almost 60 years old, and I've only had one ticket in my lifetime. So maybe you need to check yourself. But I do appreciate your quickness to get back with us. But I do feel like they do is we need some transparency. If we are in a stage 2 drought, you might want to let everybody know. I didn't know. I was watering when we first got here because I hadn't a clue. So, and then I felt horrible after I figured it out. So we're using the well now as much as we can. But I think all of us are here to help. You know, maybe you should pull in some outside resources to figure out so that other people can see you are using other people You have some wonderful resources right here in your own town. I'm not a Clyde had died or whatever she said a while ago, but I kind of love this little town. And we moved here to retire, and we're investing in it. And we would like to see it grow, not go the other way. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Winger, appreciate that. I saw a hand back here.
Hi, I'm Deborah Hunter. I live at 222 Elm Street. My husband was up here earlier. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but she must live in a new house because I don't think anybody else's water is clear and nice and pretty. My animals won't even drink that water. I can put bottled water in a bowl and Clyde water in a bowl, and they will go over there and drink that water. My animals won't even drink that water. Half the time it smells like fish. It's disgusting. And the question a while ago was, if we're getting it already nice and clean from Abilene, what's happening? I've lived here for 20-something years. And it's never been like this. It has never been this bad. Every 3 months, we would get us a little postcard that said, well, we didn't quite meet the qualifications and health standards, but it's okay. Now we're getting letters saying, don't drink it. We failed. I've got a well in my backyard that's got a pump hooked to it that I can hook to my house right now and not even use that water. But I was told I can't do that. That I have to have city water. I don't want city water. I want the good stuff out of the ground that came from God. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Ms. Hunter. Anybody else? Next up? Anybody outside?
Anybody else want to speak?
Just right up here to the podium, sir, please, and state your name and address.
Sir, my name is Tristan Green. My address is 510 North 5th Street. Just moved here, sorry. Right behind United, the grocery store right here.
Yes, sir.
Where is the gentleman? Here we go. So I came up here just to ask the explanation about why our water bill was so high and that we were new. And you told me, basically in Virginia they got water, so that's why it's cheaper, and that this letter was a lie. So I don't know if you wanted to look at that letter, if you wanted to review it, let me know if that one's a lie or if, is that one the rumor, It's definitely not a lie or rumor because that's an official letter right there, so.
Again, he won't be able to answer you on this. We can't, so you'll have to come back. I'd love for you to come down tomorrow.
Oh, yeah,
see
for
you
sure.
and talk to us,
Yes,
and
sir,
we can-
yes, sir. Right
we
after
can
work,
go
I'll
over
be
it.
here. If you want to stay after 5, because I get off at 4, I can be here and we can talk.
He's here till 6, so.
Okay, perfect. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Green, appreciate that. All right, next up?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
My name's Johnny Fawn. I live at 1412 Sunset Drive, little greenhouse on the corner. We've been here for 3 years. We moved here, retired as a veteran. And ever since we moved here, about 2 or 3 times a year, we get massive bills. And Connie, I appreciate you guys working with us and cutting that bill in half last month and recognizing the problem and moving all the water meters on Forest Avenue. So that's great for everybody on Forest. I don't know what the problem is, but y'all had plumbers out, there's no leak. Appreciate that. But it gets old when every year you get a $500 water bill, a $600 water bill. Last month, let me back it up. A couple months ago, we used 71,000 gallons of water. That was $842. Then all of a sudden, there's not a leak, there is a leak. But either way, I appreciate after 3 years, y'all recognizing the problem is yours, not mine. So thank you for that. I appreciate the city stepping up. The only other question I've got is, as a retired veteran, thank you for your service. But why is it that it's on the meeting from the town out of the park that y'all want to make this a veteran community? That's the question I have for y'all. And the only thing I could put in my head, and I'm trying to figure it out, and again, I'm not accusing you of anything, but I appreciate being 100% disabled and not having to pay taxes. But I started doing some digging and I found out that that gets reimbursed by the state. So I'm just curious why you guys want to see this become a veteran community. And maybe you can tell everybody here that's not a veteran why it needs to be a veteran community. And I don't know if that has anything to do with paying for your bonds or making sure you get the tax dollars guaranteed to you. I have no idea. I'm not a government guy. I'm just some guy that works in the area. But I appreciate what you do, but I think what y'all should do is answer that question. Maybe tell us a little bit more about that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Next up.
Jared Yates, North Hayes Road. I guess what I'd say is I know our water's been an issue for 10 years that I'm aware of. I've seen other people out here on old councils not raise rates, and this has been an ongoing issue for the city that I'm aware of for at least 10 years. And so, yes, it is a pain point right now. I think, I know you're in a corner somehow because you can't speak, but there is a level of transparency that I understand people want. And I agree with what Jeff said. I really like all of you. I don't think any of you have any ill intent or motive. I don't know anybody that serves on a city council for the fun of it. You'd have to be crazy to do that. So I appreciate you serving. I don't think it's an easy solution, but I do think us as a community is a good solution. I don't know exactly what our answer is going forward, but the one thing that all you people have talked about, how long you've lived here, your generational families here, like, it is nice that we're in a small community. This is not the perfect scenario right now, but I think we're a community that we can overcome it. I want our city to grow. It's important to me. I don't think there's any such thing as staying in the same place. There is no point in history that ever worked out. And so I think growth it's imperative for us as a city. But I also think the transparency, we have to figure out ways to get information out as well. But I appreciate you guys. I appreciate what you're doing and your willingness to sit here tonight and serve on our council. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Yates. Okay, anyone else like to speak? Now, this is your last opportunity before we close up the public comments section. Okay, seeing no other comments, we will close public comments section. We'll move on to 6.0. This is our consent agenda. Council's had an opportunity to look over the minutes. If you have nothing to discuss on the minutes, or if you want to pull anything out, please let me know. If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Have a motion by Councilman Rector, seconded by Councilman White to approve the minutes. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you. 7.0, this is a presentation. 7.1, presentation to Jason Hughes for 5 years of service to the city of Clyde. Mr. Hughes, where are you? This is, Jason Hughes says, in recognition of your outstanding service and dedication to the city of Clyde, we commend you for your 5 years of service. Appreciate it. Next up, 5 years for our Public Works Director. Where is Jerry? Jerry, come Perkins, come on down, sir. This is Jerry Perkins in recognition of your outstanding service and dedication to the city of Clyde. We commend you for your service, 5 years of service.
Thanks, sir.
All right, at this point, we'll move on to 8.0. This is public hearings. This is public hearing on tax increase. A tax rate of 0.880000 per 100 valuation has been proposed by the governing body of the city of Clyde, Texas. Interested parties may appear at this public hearing to learn more about this item and make your opinions known. No discussion from council until the item has been on the agenda, and then council will be the ones to discuss that. So at this time, I'll open up the public hearing considering the tax increase. So anybody, Mr. Niffen? Yes, sir.
My name is Stephen Niffen. I live at 419 Elm Street. For 8.5 years, I sat where Councilman Martin is sitting. I was Mayor Pro Tem. I had a tax hearing 1 year. We raised the budget a little bit. We raised the taxes a little bit. There was nobody but council and city employees in the room. Nobody showed up. No public hearing. The meeting lasted 7.5 minutes. I knew that wasn't going to happen tonight. Maybe we should have gotten a Huff Pack Center like we did once before. Going from 0.68 to 0.88 is a 29% increase. I took offense at what the mayor said earlier about past councils and their budgets. And I think Councilman McGuire and Councilwoman Kaufman should also. We passed reasonable budgets. We passed reasonable tax increases. We paid our bills on time. And we never forgot our constituency, who we work for. The city of Clyde, the average age in this city is 10 years older than the average age in Texas. The average individual income is $12,000 less than the average income in the state of Texas. And the average family income is $12,000 less than the average in Texas. This is an older, poorer community than our surroundings. A 29% increase on top of whatever's going to be with water and garbage and lake fees, and on top of 3 years where we've had 25 to 50% growth in the cost of food, fuel, electricity, transportation, housing. This is going to be debilitating for some of our seniors in this community. I think you're forgetting who the constituency is here. And I think you need to think about them, because in about 6 weeks, we've got an election coming up, and 3 of you are on the ballot. And this is a public meeting. How you vote tonight will be recorded, and everybody here is probably going to go out and tell all their friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Niffen.
Can I say something again on that?
Yes.
Taxes. If it was just taxes and just water going up, guys, we could all do it. But it's not just that. It's everything from food. I'm the one that started the pop-up pantry. We're serving over 310 people now. Every second Wednesday of the month. We started with 68 families. It's getting out of hand.
Yeah.
It's everything going up. So it's not just the water and not just the taxes. And like Steve said, it's not just the elderly. It's us disabled, widows, and those that are working poor. And that's what Clyde is, working poor. If you don't believe me, ask some of the ones that do stuff for a living. Go do ministry work with me for one day. 1 day is all it would take.
It'll break your heart.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Brandt.
I was past director of the Clyde Loving Care Ministry.
It's heart-wrenching.
It is. I don't even know how to speak about it. Families coming in, not sending their children to school because they didn't have clothes, because they didn't have shoes.
It's real.
It's real.
It is very real, and I want
Lisa and
to.
I've worked a lot through the years.
And I want to say
together.
something. I had a husband that got cancer. Many of you did a fundraiser for him, for me. So,
Yeah,
God,
what's the purpose of the taxes anyway? Again, are we covering some of other people's mistakes? Why are we raising
Okay.
29%?
I can't answer.
I'm sorry, y'all
I know
will,
you
y'all
can't
need,
tell us.
y'all will need to speak one at a time up here, please, just so we don't have a conversation. Yes?
I'm not here just for me. Like I said, I've got a monthly income. I can pay my bills. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that I've got senior friends with incomes of like 600 and something a month. How can they pay these kinds of bills? And young families with children. And you know, we can only give so much. There's some of us, some here, and I look around this room and I see the people that brought donations to Loving Care, that stepped up when I put out a plea and said, we don't have chickens to give out to these families. We need shoes so these children can start school.
Okay, so, yes, ma'am, Ms. Brown, I understand what you're saying, and anybody else want to speak on their opinion on the tax rate?
Why are we raising it to 29%?
Ma'am, hold,
They can't answer.
I have it.
Oh, you can't tell me.
Yes,
Well, again, I'm Chris Wingard, at Alamo Court.
Yeah.
And I understand you can't answer the question, but I'd like to give you some things to think about. First of all, looking at your no new revenue tax rate of 63.6288, that's almost a 40% increase to what you're proposing. And my question is, do you have bond reserve fund built into that increase? Do you have a reserve that will take care of inflation over that period of time built into that increase? Do you have a reserve that will take care of a lower revenue because of a drought next year possibly built into that increase? I heard the word transparency spoken earlier, and I think that's a very appropriate word. If you would be more transparent with what you're proposing here, we could better understand and would support potentially what you're doing. But the big concern I would have is to make sure we're not standing here next year at this time facing another 40% increase.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Okay, anybody else like to speak on the public hearing on the tax increase? Yes, sir.
Raising our tax increase, or raising our taxes, excuse me, to .88, you said? That's gonna bring it up higher than the city of Wiley pays. We don't have the infrastructure like they do. And the people out there earning 6 figures a year. What are people in Clyde earning? Most of us are lucky to hit mid-5 figures. I mean, what we gotta do, sell blood to pay taxes now? It's ridiculous. It's ludicrous.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to speak?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I'll just say this, I'm real blessed to be that veteran that's living here. And we moved here to Clyde because we saw it was a small town. And that's where we come from in Idaho. We didn't want to live in Abilene. We wanted to live in a small town. I love the pizza house. Man, great pizza. Great community around here. I'll have a yard sale, and I meet more neighbors having a yard sale than I do anything. We walk around our block, we talk to people, we take care of each other. But here's the interesting part. Y'all keep raising taxes, and people like me and everybody else that actually has the ability to leave this place, we will leave. And then what's gonna happen to your revenue? That tax revenue that you're counting on, that you're banking on, Mr. McGuire, from all the veterans coming into the community, Mr. Brown, that's gonna go away. I can leave the place. I don't want to. I love this little town. But you keep raising the rates, you keep raising the prices along with everything else that's been talked about with inflation and food. People won't afford to live here. I've got a plan in life, my goal and what I want to do, but paying taxes and higher property rates and our property taxes and not being able to move at some point because I couldn't sell my house because I'm getting taxed for a 1 3/4 acre lot, $6,700 a year, that's insane. That almost doubled from the first year I moved here in 2021. So think about that before y'all vote, is that you might just vote that revenue out of here.
Thank you, sir. All right, anybody else? Yes, ma'am?
I'm Chandra Petrillo, live over on Warren.
Yes, ma'am.
So when in 2023, 2022, when we got the certificate of obligation, when we built the complex, 2021, whichever it was, we were assured that we weren't gonna have to pay for it. So when the vote comes up, I just wanna make sure that you guys consider that that's what your constituents were promised, that we were not going to have to pay for it, and see if there's any other solution that we can do for the people who really can't afford it. Thank you.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
One gentleman suggested liquidating some of our assets. That's what I would do if I were in debt and could not pay my bills. I'd be selling something.
Okay. Thank you. Hello?
Kevin Hagan. Some people probably won't like me because I'm a home builder here.
You like anyway.
But I have lived here for 46 years this month because I was born here. And I love this little town.
Kevin, what's your address?
Right now it's 7601 County Road 112 West. I don't live inside the city limits, but I do own a lot of property inside the city limits. Y'all want this town to grow? Raising taxes and raising water rates isn't gonna bring people to town. That's the biggest problem that I can see as a developer, a home builder. People's wanting to leave already because you're raising it. Just thinks you're not gonna bring anybody else in.
Right.
And so that's my biggest concern right there. Y'all want it to grow, it's not going to doing what y'all are doing right now.
That's right, right.
All we gotta do is look online right now.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Steele.
I just have one more quick thing. It's not just the 20 cents that we have to factor in. It's the increase in value on our property. You guys may only increase 20%, but the tax assessor is going to increase us 20% every year because more people from California are moving in or whatever. You know, when I bought my house in 2006, my house payment was $788. Today, it is $1,347. The only thing that's changed is insurance and taxes, and that's it. Twice the payment from insurance and taxes.
Right, that's right.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
I have something to say.
Yes,
Hi,
ma'am.
I'm China. I moved here with my little family in 218 Green Meadow Lane. We moved here in 2016 because this is a beautiful little place, and we've always been low income and struggled. The past 2 years, my husband was in school. It was really hard. It's been really hard. And to not even really be able to bathe your kids in the water is tough. We have to bring water from Abilene to drink.
Okay, ma'am, I'm sorry, this is on the
Oh,
tax.
sorry.
This is on the tax.
This is a make it or break for us. My husband just finished school, and we were looking at upgrading, getting a bigger house, you know. We love to ride bikes to our friend's house and walk, and we, in the current situation, aren't gonna be able to stay here. And I know other people will probably get foreclosed on, even if they can't afford to get out, and then they won't have a choice. So this is really, it's a really hard time. I have different friends that are all struggling, so it's a tough time for all of us.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Mr. Paler, are you raising your hand? Yes.
I didn't turn in a blue card.
So this is not the public part of, this is not that part, so. This is about the,
Probably not gonna be very popular in the crowd. Here in a minute, we're gonna hear about a tax increase. We're gonna hear about a utility increase. We're gonna hear about a proposal to decrease the budget, $1.5 million or whatever. Folks, we don't have any choice. Council doesn't have any choice. We got to come up with something. They have to come up with something to try to get rid of what's behind us and what's going forward, and we don't like it. But I don't see a choice. I don't see anything else that we can do but the fee, the 88 cents, hopefully the decrease in the budget that you propose coming up with maybe a $2.7 million, you're causing a savings. Well, it's not a savings because we're gonna have to spend it. But, I mean, it's tough to swallow. I've been up there. And I don't see another choice but to accept the proposals that y'all are putting out tonight. That's it.
thank you, Mr. Paler.
Once again, I think if we could all work together instead of just bashing each other, I think we might be able to come up with a solution. And it has to be together.
Anything else on the tax increase discussion? All right. Seeing no other discussion, I'll close the public hearing on the tax increase. At this time, we'll move to 8.2. This is a public hearing on the 2024-2025 budget. Again, interested parties may appear at this public hearing to learn more about this item. Make your opinion known. No discussion from council until the agenda item comes up later, and then that discussion will be just between council. So anybody would like to speak, ask questions, or get information, give us information that you'd like us to take into consideration as we move on to the agenda item. This is your opportunity to talk about the budget. Anybody? Yes, ma'am?
What's in the budget? In other words, is there anything you can cut back? Is there any stuff that's not necessary that could be cut back to help with the budget where you're not having to spend as much? You know, vehicles, whatever. I mean, I don't know what all that you can afford to let go that would help the budget without having to raise as much or to cut into something else. There should be things that you can work with, just like we have to with our households. We have to cut certain things, we have to work with other things. Should be ways to make things work, and we don't even see what the budget consists of, so we can even make suggestions what you can and can't do that would help with the city budget, and or not cut too much into the citizens to try and make that budget. I mean, we'd like to know what the budget's being spent on and or what could be worked in.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Can I make one more comment? Ms.
Yes,
Shelton?
ma'am. Sorry,
That's okay. I need, you can't see me. I have been told, and I hope this isn't true, that our police force is down to bare minimum. Now, that's not something we can cut from the budget. Our police force, our EMTs, our first responders, anything we do for the volunteer firemen, we need to keep that in force because we're a city that needs that. So if our police force has been on the chopping block, let's not put them on the chopping block.
yes, ma'am. Anyone else like to speak on the budget?
Yes.
Yes.
Sylvester Roberts, 1127 Sunset Drive. Last September, Mr. McGuire sat here, we talked about the city sewer and the city works department as far as the chemicals they needed, yada, yada, yada. paper goods and stuff they needed, you know, was over budget. But he stated that buying the trash truck and all the poly carts and Clyde doing their own trash would double
With double what?
what the over budget was for the city sewer and the city maintenance guys being over budget. But there, here we are again, 1 year later. How many hundreds of thousands of dollars did we spend on trash trucks and new city vehicles, new cop cars? And now we're raising it again a year later.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right, thank you, Mr. Roberts. Anyone else?
There's one more back here. Can we
Yes,
get a
ma'am.
copy of the budget?
Yes, ma'am. Wait, I'm not answering, sorry. But yes, the budget's an open act. I mean, it's available to you. I'm not supposed to be responding, so.
Where do we find
In
it?
a minute, let me say this. Shortly, we will be moving into that agenda item, and you'll get a lot of that information, and council will be talking about. That's why we're listening to y'all right now, we're writing down what you're asking, saying, when we're able to get into that deliberation part of that, then I think you'll get some of those answers, so. Anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir.
Budget, I mean, look, as a kid, I used to collect cans, you know, and I used to dive in dumpsters and pick them up, and one added up, right?
Right.
And the recycling effort that I made, I don't know, I was more interested in putting quarters into a machine and playing a video game as a kid. But I would just say this, you know, start looking at where you can pinch. Like, I see a lot of city trucks at houses. That's a pretty nice fringe benefit, but it's a small town. How wide's the town? Can city employees not drive? So I'm just saying, in regards to your budget, maybe take some considerations about places that you can pinch. Maybe y'all start paying water bills. That's usually a resource of income for the city, so maybe that might be a good angle.
They pay water bill. They do pay the water bill.
My sincere apologies, I thought you didn't. I was in the hallway where there was no speakers.
City council pays water bills.
My point is pinch where you can pinch, right? It all adds up. I was a scrapper as a kid. Those little aluminum cans, one was 1 cent, the next thing you know, it was $5. Y'all can do the same thing. We've got faith in you, that's why you're here. That's what we want you to do. Nobody here is stepping up and saying they want to stand in your chair. We just want y'all to do better. That's all.
Can I correct that? City council does pay water bills, city employees do not.
Thank you. So maybe that's the other consideration of it.
Well, if they could speak to us, we'd
They
know
don't
that.
make enough.
I too wish they would have told us who we put them under gag order, but it's
Nope,
not gonna
okay,
happen.
first off, I am going to address that. There was no gag order, there is no gag order, and you have not come down to City Hall and asked to speak to me. I could answer a lot of these questions that a lot of y'all are asking. Mr. Steele, you have not come to my office or called me, not one time.
I called him.
I just
And I
said you did
emailed
not.
him.
You're right. I'm sorry. I'm out of order because I'm trying to address something that a lot of misinformation is out there.
And that's what I said.
And you
earlier.
have not come to me and asked me for those answers. Mr. Wingert has. He got answers because he actually took the time to come and talk. All right, no. Anybody else want to speak on the budget? That's the only thing. Anybody else on the budget? All right, then I'm closing the public hearing on the budget. We'll move to 9.0. This is to consider with possible action to adopt an ordinance of the City of Clyde, Texas, adopting a budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, and ending September 30th, 2025, in accordance with state law, appropriating the various amounts thereof and providing for an effective date. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, council citizens, we constructed this year's budget. We did a 12% reduction in spending. We've looked.
No, we can't hear you.
I can't hear you.
We did a 12% reduction in spending. We reduced $1,143,972, 12% decrease. We looked at every single cost center inside the budget, and we took the budget down to bare bones. Police department is fully funded for their operational. They are not being cut. They've been given all the resources that they need. We realize public safety is paramount importance. Same thing with the fire department. Their budget stayed the same so that everything that was the fire department's spending priorities was inside the budget. Senior Citizen Center stayed the same, library stayed the same, cemetery stayed the same. Municipal court, there was no way to reduce because of the amount of expense that goes back to the state. Parks and Recreation was slashed dramatically. Clyde Lake took a reduction. Code enforcement took a reduction. Animal control, there was no way to reduce spending on that because there are the requirements from the state. Street Department took a massive cut. Sanitation took a cut. And water and sewer, we reduce costs the best we can inside those cost centers. So I guess one of the questions earlier about water and the amount of cost pressure that we're under operating the water system. I know nobody wants to see their water rates raised, nobody wants to see their tax rates raised. But we've had consultant after consultant in here. We've had the Texas Water Resource Board, we've had the Texas Water Agency in here to look at all the operations, to give us the best advice possible. And we are dramatically under where we should be on our utility rates. So something that keeps getting said tonight is everybody's water rate went up or is going up. It's a utility rate increase spread across all three cost centers: trash, water, and sewer. And it's, last year we went up $10 on the sewer side, $10 on the water side for 20% or a $20 increase. That revenue just stemmed the loss of what we were losing. We have been losing in the utility side over $1 million a year because of operating costs. So the same cost that everybody else is feeling, that we're all under the pressure under, is the same thing that the city's seeing. We're seeing astronomical increases in electricity. We're seeing astronomical increases in chemicals. We're seeing astronomical increases in every part of the operation. The infrastructure has been failing. It continues to fail. That's been the priority over the last couple of years, is to fix the failing infrastructure. These are problems that this city's faced for the last 50 years of not dealing with the infrastructure problem, and now it's just compounding. There's a cost of inaction, and that's exactly the problem that we're facing right now, is that instead of incrementally doing this over the last 10 to 12 years, which all the consultants and the rate study analysis has showed us that we should have done, we made one $20 increase last year. It had been a number of years before water and sewer was addressed. And now we're faced with all the ongoing cost pressures. The comment about the city employees getting the water as an added incentive, that truly is an added incentive, and we can't pay the city employees what they deserve. So 3 years ago when I got here, the average city employee was making $12 an hour. City employees making $12 an hour. They could go work at McDonald's and make more than that. This is the public works people that are knee-deep in sewer. This is public works employees that are in water ditch, fixing water leaks all day long. So the incentive to give them a break on their utilities is a recruitment tool, and it's an incentive tool to keep the employees here. The cost of replacing an employee is far more than the average $120 a month bonus that they get. Now, if we increase their salaries again, all we do is compound the problem with benefits. We have seen a massive increase over the last 3 years in the cost of benefits. They have skyrocketed. The retirement contributions have skyrocketed. This problem did not happen overnight. This has been a slow motion train wreck that's been going on for the last decade. And we're at the point where there are no more easy solutions, and these are the tough choices that we have to make. Nobody wants to pay more in taxes. Nobody wants to pay more for their utilities. Nobody wants, and I understand the argument from all the developers. I realize what that does, the pressure that puts on as you're trying to build new homes. It also puts a tremendous amount of pressure on recruiting new businesses in here. And there are new businesses that are coming in. One of the questions that was asked earlier was, is this increase going to help the capital reserve? Yes. So there had never been a capital improvement plan put in place by this city. We've lurched from crisis to crisis to crisis. And what we're trying to do is finally rip the Band-Aid off and fix the problem once and for all. We're trying to get ahead of the curve. We're trying to bend these cost pressures. We're all facing it. The astronomical increases in the last 4 years in this country, it's had the downward pressure on all of us. And we're no different. I know business owners have put out and saying that they're seeing that their sales revenue and their profit margins are shrinking because of the economy. We get that. We're under the same exact pressure. But, you know, this is business owners trying to operate businesses. This is a city trying to keep failing infrastructure in place. There's not a week that goes by that Public Works isn't dealing with failing infrastructure. We've got a 20% water loss, annual water loss, because of the failing infrastructure. I've heard repeatedly tonight that the water's undrinkable. Well, for the last 6.5 weeks, we've been on the City of Abilene water. So, because of the water plant's failing, we're trying to overcome. The notices that went out are precautionary notices. The lake level is dropping to next to nothing. All we're doing is sucking up organic material off the bottom of the lake. We've increased turbidity levels. Those notices are based on the turbidity levels. And then there was one notice about chlorine. There was a 4-hour window when a chlorine cylinder ran out. The Public Works had to go swap out a cylinder, and that was corrected within 4 hours. Those precautionary notices go out in transparency. We're self-reporting ourselves to the state that we have these issues. That water plant is limping along. The new water, the membrane filtration system is about 6 weeks away from being completed. That will dramatically increase the quality of water. We're operating on technology that's 50 years old. It's akin to what you do with your swimming pool. It's sand in a filter medium, and it can't sustain the organic material coming out of the lake. The other issue that was brought up tonight was somebody had said about the cost increase in the pipeline. Absolutely, that cost increase has skyrocketed. What was a $12 million project 10 years ago? The recent cost estimates put it north of $30 million. So the question was, why did it take so long to get the pipeline or move forward? Well, the last easement was gained 3 years ago, and we have been working with the engineers to get plans finalized, approved by the state, and then be ready to go out to bid. But there's no way to take a project out to bid at over $30 million. So we've been working value engineering to bring the cost down on the pipeline. We're exploring other means. Somebody else said, have you explored other options for water? Yes, we have. We've identified that there's 22 existing wells that the city owns in the city. We've been working to get those wells back online. We've identified where there's water down near where the sewer treatment plant is. We've had companies out there that have done the analysis. There's plenty of water there. We're going to start drilling wells to offset the cost. Buying Abilene water is ridiculously expensive. The last time we were on Abilene water, correct me if I'm wrong, we wound up with a bill of over $1.2 million to the city of Abilene. And that cost was never passed on to anybody. So none of this is popular. None of this was done without thought. We have had massive infrastructure failings over the last 4.5 years that any reserve money that we had has gone back into trying to fix the failing infrastructure. Nobody can plan for a whole entire city street to have a sewer line collapse and have to replace a mile of sewer line. Completely unexpected. In the past 3 days, we've had over $30,000 in mechanical failures on switching stations for the Elmdale pump station. Some of you have seen some pictures on rants and raves about the Elmdale water tank. So we know that the roof structure of that is starting to fail. We're working to resolve all those issues. Every single one of these challenges compounds the problem. And the truth is, so the county raised everybody's assessed values, and that impacted everybody. Last year, the council's decision was to actually go down 4 cents on the tax value from 72 cents to 68 cents. And I don't want to, I'm speaking on behalf of the council, and they can say what they want to say after I make my comment. But that was done not to burden everybody, because they knew there needed to be utility adjustment to stem the loss inside the utilities. Again, great intent, citizens in mind, but all we did was take more revenue off the table that we could not afford to do. So unfortunately, we're at a point where we cannot keep kicking cans down the road. Once and for all, we have to solve the problems. This budget has looked at everything. We had a budget workshop. We went item by item of every expense in this budget. And there was trade-offs, and there's hard choices. We've implemented a hiring freeze. We've reduced spending. Now, some people made comments about vehicles. Yes, were new vehicles purchased? Absolutely. But do you know the cost of maintaining 40-year-old vehicles that were failing on a daily basis far exceeded the cost of replacing a vehicle fleet? Vehicles that are 30 years old that were burning through gas, and some vehicles were leaking 5 gallons of oil a week. Engines were blowing. This is public works employees that have to get out to your house and fix the issues you have. It was unsustainable. We had to, look, folks, I completely get it. I understand your anger. Everybody here understands your anger. This is the challenge of small cities. But it's not just us that are facing these cost pressures. Everybody around here is facing cost pressures. City of Abilene, the biggest player in the region, is facing cost pressures. Every small city is facing cost pressures. City of San Antonio is facing cost pressures. Austin has a huge budget deficit this year. Everybody does. The school district has cost pressures. They're operating in a deficit budget. This, unfortunately, is the situation that the country's devolved into. I don't know what else to say. I don't know if there's anybody that has a question, I'm more than willing to sit down with you, and you can go item by item through every page of the budget. You can look at the expenses. We over the last 4 years have burned bleeding cash trying to stay ahead of everything in this city that's failing. And every time we think that we've got something fixed, something else fails. I mean, just last week, the 5 inches of rain. So I've heard comments that we're not in a drought. We got 5 inches of rain. Go down and look at Clyde Lake.
Yeah.
You could literally walk from one end of the lake to the next. It's a mud puddle. It's not a lake any longer. All the ranchers that have built stock tanks all the way down, we only have, our watershed comes behind Eula High School and runs down to the lake. And everybody that impedes flow along the way has captured all that water. And we've reached out to the state, and there's absolutely nothing we can do about private landowners digging stock tanks on their own property. Can't do it. Another thing that comes up constantly is, why are we diverting stormwater into the lake? Well, we're dealing with 2 different river authorities. When that lake was built, those agreements were put in place with Lower Colorado and the Brazos River authorities, and we can't scalp water. Now, we have found out that we can, on our own property, build a giant stock tank to start pulling some of that stormwater, as long as we don't dam it and stop the flow. But this is federal water law, and this is state water law of where the water flows, and we cannot impede the flow downstream. And unfortunately, every drop of rain that falls here fills up Lake Brownwood. It would be amazing if that 5 inches of rain that fell last week fell, and we could have captured that runoff. That lake would be full. We put pumps in the lake now to start the double pumping once we can overcome the turbidity, because we can't stay consistently on Abilene water. You think that we have problems now, we will be in Chapter 9 if we stay on Abilene water for extended periods of time. We are doing everything we can to solve these issues. And there's no easy choices, and there's no popular choices.
Council have any questions for Mr. McGuire? Any discussion, any thought? Sorry, go ahead. Now, I apologize, but as I read earlier, during this deliberation phase, it's just between council.
Okay.
Sorry about that. This is where we took y'all's questions and information earlier so that we could try and answer some of those questions. So, council have any questions? Maybe if Corey whispers real loud, council will hear what he said, and then we can bring it up. Because I certainly want to make sure that we've discussed everything and that we've talked about this. Again, as Mr. McGuire stated, there's nothing, and Mr. Paler in the audience stated it too, guys, there's nothing we can do here that's gonna make y'all happy. There's nothing. We all pay the same bills. I pay the taxes you pay. I pay the water bill you pay. I gotta do the same thing you do. I'm retired. I don't have that extra income coming in. I'm out looking for another job, and it's because not what this city has done, but where we stand in this country today. And this council now has to make a decision and make a choice that is going to be very unpopular because some people are not going to be able to afford that. But we have to operate on what, on what we're trying to do and where we're trying to go and where we're trying to build this city. It's been questions have, been raised and said, well, we didn't want this or we didn't want that. We want people here. We want people to help, that they will help pay the deal, pay the tax rate and then that. But we can't bring them in if we raise taxes. Well, we also can't bring them in if we don't have anything to provide. If we don't have the infrastructure to take care of our town, if our town continues to fail on the massive scale that it has in the past, we have to fix that. Just recently with that 5 inches of rain, a lot of y'all been around here a long time. We have business owners on Main Street right here. Did your building flood this time? Yeah, was it bad, as we've had in the past that we've had, we've created that drainage. We've gone through our manholes now as part of the infrastructure that we fixed. We figured out a way to get that water to flow a lot better. We had a massive downpour. It was great. It helped us a little bit. But what we're doing now, council, is continuing that infrastructure rebuild that has been needed to be done for the last 75 years. As we picked the little places and fixed this and fixed that the best we could at the time, it's causing us a lot of trouble right now. And so right now we have to be able to do that. Not everybody, but there's been comments made. Some of the comments here about the sports complex and, we don't need that and we don't need these other things yet. How do we, Mr. Niffen, well, it was brought up that, we're an older community and I understand that. I look at council and I feel like me and Tammy may be on that end of it, the older, sorry, Tammy. But this is a young council and we're not trying to in any way take away from our older generation, but council, ever since, when I moved here in 81 and ever since, we got out of school here, it was the idea that we had nothing to offer ourselves. It was bad then. The past councils have tried to do what we could to grow this city, and that's what we're doing right now. Unfortunately, along with hitting us at the same time of us taking on these businesses or these projects that we have that we know are going to benefit this city, we've been hit with massive inflation. Everybody that has complained or griped about the cost of food or your bills going up, your house payment going up, everything that you're talking about, we're suffering through too. Council is too. Everything that's happening there, this city is seeing it on a much larger scale. If your electricity bill is up at your house, imagine what the city's electricity bill is. How do you expect us to keep paying the bills that we have? And I know the question there is, well, then why take on new debt? The new debt is to help bring in the commerce and the revenue that we will generate to cover that. Until we get there, we've been hit with some serious setbacks. And those setbacks are going to cost us. And like it or not, we're going to have to make those hard choices that we've been needing to make for a while. So, that's my speech to council to let you know that I know you don't want to make the hard choices. I know you don't want to do it. I know we don't want to burden our citizens and our residents. It's the last thing I want. But how best do we provide for our future? So, council have any thoughts or comments?
I have a comment to make, and it's regarding the things that I don't know. And there's a lot of things that I don't know. There are a lot of things that I do know, but it has been an absolute marvel to me that our city administrator, Mr. McGuire, if he does not know, he goes to these sources at the state and national level and even pulls on global experiences that he has had to draw on possible solutions. He has brought to this community a wealth of, we can get so small-sided to where all we can see is the ground in front of our feet. We can't lift our head to look further, to look around. Mr. McGuire has seen in his span of national service as a civilian all over this world, he has the big picture, and he knows where to look for resources. I don't know what, give me healthcare problems, I will beat the doors down. But when it comes to infrastructure and it comes to the knowledge of how to approach the appropriate people, I don't have that skill. Mr. McGuire does. So when he has humbled himself and reached out to the experts seeking counsel, how do we fix this? He has done that in a way that no other leader that I've sat under in the 5 years that I've been on this council has done. And so I won't say anything else about that, but I'm telling you guys, he has eyes to see what I cannot see. And I really do try to look at the big picture. So when it hurts, it's not that he's bad. It's that our circumstances are painful. Done.
No, it's fine. Thank you, Ms. Kaufman. Council, have any other thoughts, or questions, comments? No thoughts, no questions, nothing else further, council? All right, at this time then, I would entertain a motion concerning adopting our budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025 in accordance with state law, appropriating the various amounts thereof and providing for an effective date.
I'll make that motion to adopt the budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025.
All right, I have a motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilman Martin. Any other discussion?
On the budget. Each one of y'all need to vote separately.
Oh, that was on the tax rate.
It's on
It's
vote.
on the budget. Okay, at this time, I will call for an individual vote. The motion has been made to approve the tax rate the budget as we've talked about. So at this time, we'll take an individual vote. Councilman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilman White? Councilman Rector? Councilman Martin? Councilwoman Kaufman?
Yes.
It passes 5-0 unanimously. Thank y'all. Moving on to 9.2, consider with possible action to adopt an ordinance of the City of Clyde, Texas, ratifying the property tax increase reflected in the adopted budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025, in accordance with Texas Local Government Code Chapter 102 and providing an effective date. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, council citizens, the proposed tax rate, effective tax rate is 88 cents per $100. We've laid out all the reasons why this has to happen, but this increase goes directly to the general reserves. This increase will go to build our capital improvement plan and our reserve funds, so that we're not, when we face the next crisis, which is inevitable, that we're in a financial position to be able to deal with it.
Council have any questions for Mr. McGuire? Any thoughts, any comments?
To answer the question that's been proposed, is there anyone on council or Mr. McGuire that sees anything that could be liquidated that would not shoot us in the foot?
We have discussed that.
We have discussed that at length. There are options. I've brought options to council in the past. We've had offers to buy the water distribution system. We produce the water, everything that leaves the water plant would be sold. Council, again, you did not want to do that. You were afraid that if a private company came in and took over distribution, that would, you'd have no control over rates. The Public Utility Commission governs those corporations, so the rates would be set by the Public Utility Commission. That's an option. That's a $10 to $15 million offer that was on the table to sell off the distribution side. And that would dramatically reduce the cost on the operation and maintenance side of the budget, because if we did sell distribution, excuse me, we would no longer be responsible for fixing all the water leaks, all the sewer leaks, everything that goes on inside the city. We would produce the water, we would sell it to the Water Supply Corporation, and they would then they charge the rates, and it would be their responsibility after that. That's an option that's still available. Another option is, which I don't necessarily think is the right answer, but it's certainly an option, is sell the senior water rights at Lake Fort Phantom. Easily raise another $20 to $30 million that way. But that's not thinking long-term of the viability of the community. I mean, to give up senior water rights, again, you've asked for options. My best counsel to you would be that that option has to be the very, very last option that we ever got to after everything it took to purchase those water rights. But divesting ourselves of the downstream side of water and sewer is an option, absolutely viable option. Again, that's something for council to think about. That's something to have further conversation.
We have talked about it. We can talk about it again. You know, the problem there is now we're tied into the Public Utilities Commission allowing a corporation outside of us to determine what your water rates are. And I'm afraid that if you think your water rates are high now, wait until somebody who doesn't even live here and doesn't even pay our, water rates has control of that. So it is an option. Again, Mr. McGuire has presented several different ideas that we could look at on the budget. The budget has been gone over with a fine-tooth comb, and where we're at right now is less than what we could, what we're allowed. It is right at the minimum of where we need to be to try and get us back. And again, this doesn't go to taxes so that we can pay a missed bond. This goes to help where we are so far in the hole because of the same thing everybody else is having to pay for. Everything that has gone up in your life has gone up in the city's ability to maintain and operate, so.
And I will share that in those discussions that we've had in the budget workshop, in running these numbers and crunching these numbers and the hard decisions, you all know that we've had the outside consultants and experts say that 20 cents is not nearly enough. And we've pushed back because we've articulated to everybody else that that's unsustainable, that yes, in theory that it would work, and yes, if you went to the voter approval rate of $1.58 would solve problems. But we realized we would kill growth, we would kill this community. So we've run those numbers, and this is the hard choices that have to be made. And it's the lowest number that's acceptable to build up the reserves and to be able to have that that capacity in case something else goes wrong. Because like the other gentleman said, we did reduce the spending, so that's taken pressure off the payment side, but it does nothing to stem all the ongoing costs that we know that we continue to see. And we're gonna have for the foreseeable future until infrastructure as a whole has been completely replaced. You know, the next challenge that's looming 5 years down the road is the sewer plant. I mean, we're gonna have to make an investment in the sewer plant at some point. The water plant was the immediate priority, but the sewer plant has to start being on the horizon, has to start going on the planning calendar. We have to start with a capital improvement fund, and we gotta be able to have those reserves in place when that time comes to make the upgrades that are gonna be necessary at the sewer plant.
Council, have any other questions or comments?
You know, the raising the tax rate is definitely not a light decision that we've had to make. But if we were to keep it at the same levels as we had last year, we'd be sitting in the same spot next year where we couldn't make our bond payments, where we continue to let our infrastructure go downhill. It's definitely not something I want to have to do. I don't want to have to pay the tax. My house value has tripled since I built it. And like you said, there's nothing that's changed. I haven't, other than making some repairs and small improvements. I don't plan on moving anytime soon, but I'm still, my appraised value is triple what it was. So it's definitely a tough decision, and that we have not taken this a grain of salt. It's been a difficult process. As Mr. McGuire said, we went through the budget. We tried to eliminate everything that we could without jeopardizing police and fire and all that. So it's definitely y'all's comments. I'm feeling the same pressure with the price of groceries, the price of gas. My paycheck hadn't gone up hardly any these last few years, and I've got to feed my kids. I've got to clothe my kids. So it's definitely something that we've tried to consider every option. This rate that we're proposing is the way we feel like we can bring the city into better financial standing next year this time.
Thank you, Mr. McGuire. Councilman McGuire. Council have any other thoughts or comments?
I just think that Chris explained the need for the taxes to go up. I heard a lot of comments from people that food's gone up, gas has gone up, this has gone up, that's gone up. And you've got to look at the city, the position we're in. Everything that we operate has gone up. And we have, the city over the past, I know 3 years since I've been here for the second time on the council, things have gone up outrageously. And the city has kind of eaten a lot of those things that we didn't want to pass on at that time to the community. But it's the time now when we've got to. And it's, like Paul says, it's not something I want to do. I don't want to raise taxes. But I want this community to continue to thrive and grow as much as we can.
Thank you, Councilman Director, thank you. Any other thoughts on this?
I just want to make one more comment to Mr. McGuire's comment about what we hold in the senior water rights. That we are striving for a pipeline to bring that water to us. When I read newsletters from other entities that I serve on that cover the entire state of Texas, I was just reading it today, water is key. And I 100% agree that the most valuable resource that we hold right now is the water that we do have. So our problem and I'm praying for a solution. There is someone who knows how to make things happen, and I believe this is a community of faith. So I'm gonna step out and I'm gonna say, I believe that there is one who can show us a solution when we don't have one presently. We cannot let go, aside from a last resort, as Mr. McGuire said, of our senior water rights. And so I just wanted to toss in a voice of agreement, because it's not just here, it's across the great state of Texas.
If you ever talk to any of our state representatives, let them know, because I know Chris and I and Roger, we sat out at the opening of the ball complex and talked to state representatives that were out there about our water and the county's water. I mean, we process, what did you say? 75% of the people in Callahan County get water from Clyde?
Yeah.
75% of Callahan County, we provide their water. If we could get that pipeline and get that water from Fort Phantom that we've had, when did we buy that? 13. In 13.
Right, so.
Yeah.
No, you're good. Okay.
I'm done.
Thank you, Councilman Rector. Council, have any other comments or thoughts on adopting this ordinance? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adopt an ordinance of the City of Clyde, Texas, ratifying the property tax increase reflected in the adopted budget.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the property tax rate be increased by adoption.
We're not on that one yet. We're on
Just ratify the, just to ratify the,
Budget?
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Jump ahead.
Yeah, it's just that one.
Okay. To adopt the budget. To ratify the property.
Tax increase, yeah. So I have a motion by Councilman Rector to adopt an ordinance ratifying the property tax increase. Do I have a second? I have a second by Councilman McGuire. Again, individual?
No.
All those in favor of adopting? Jim, did you vote to adopt? Okay. Have 5-0 adopt to ratify the property tax increase. Moving on to 9.3, this is to consider with possible action to adopt an ordinance of the City of Clyde, Texas, levying an ad valorem taxes for tax year 24 at 0.8800 per $100 assessed valuation of all taxable property within the corporate limits of the city to provide revenues for maintenance and operations and interest and sinking fund requirements, providing due and delinquent dates, penalties, and interest for said taxes, and establishing an effective date. Mr. McGuire?
Mr. Mayor, council, citizens, again, this is what we previously discussed, all the reasons why the rate has to go to the 88 cents. So this is the formal action to adopt that ordinance.
Council have any questions other than what we've discussed already? If not, I'd consider a motion to adopt the
There's specific language that they all have on there.
Yeah, that's right, that page. Somebody will have to make a motion if you choose to of the page that you have. This has to be presented in an exact fashion for the state. So anybody that has that would like to make the motion where we're at right now, 9.3.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.88000, which is effectively a 29.41% increase in the tax rate.
I have a motion by Councilman Rector. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Councilman White.
Individual.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
For the love of this city that I don't want to see collapse. I vote yes.
Councilman Martin. Councilman Rector. Councilman White.
Yes.
Councilman McGuire.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. 9.4, consider an act upon adopting an ordinance of the city of Clyde, Texas, amending chapter 13 utilities, 13.02 solid waste, article 13.02.010 waste services rate, 13.03 water and sewers, division 2 rates, charges, and billing sections 13.03.51 water rates, and section 13.03.052 wastewater rates of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Clyde, Texas, by increasing water and wastewater rates, incorporating recitals, providing a repealer, providing for severability, and setting an effective date. Mr. McGuire?
Mr. Mayor, council, citizens, as unpopular as this increase is, again, this is the consultants, Texas Water Resource Board, Texas Rural Water Agency that's come in and did the whole rate study analysis. We can't continue to keep losing money in the enterprise fund. We have to be able to cover the cost of producing, of maintaining, and this goes a long way to doing that. The incremental rate last year stemmed the immediate loss, but we did nothing to move forward. So instead of being 1.2 million or 1.6 million the whole on the utility side, last year's adjustments stemmed a $400,000 loss. So we're still $1.2 million in operating loss on the enterprise side with water and sewer, and it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable with the cost increase that we're facing. It's not sustainable knowing the issues and the challenges that we have. It's not sustainable to build up the reserves. It's not sustainable to start putting money into a capital improvement plan, because we know there's some big systems that are gonna have to be replaced in the next 5 years. Len and Scotty at the sewer plant are doing fantastic work to keep that facility up and running. They do an amazing job, but at some point, that equipment is just gonna completely fail like it's done. And like we just had, like I said, the switches at the Elmdale station. And then we had, 2 weeks ago, the Hayes Road lift station fail. So these are challenges that we face on a daily basis. And, I don't know that everybody fully realizes the challenges that the infrastructure costs. And infrastructure every single day gets more and more expensive. Mayor, you and I have sat in with the consultants. You saw the analysis. You know what the cost of inaction is every time that we fail to make the decision and we fail to make the hard choice to stem these problems. Those prices keep increasing and compounding.
People ask us if we've taken into any consideration other options, other ideas, if we've talked to anybody, if we've reached out to, other people. We have, council, has been informed of the meetings that myself and Mr. McGuire have set in with these professionals, with these individuals who have told us time and again, where we are at is unsustainable. We have to increase, we have to get up, for as much as our citizens believe, and I agree, that we pay too much in taxes, we pay too much in everything that we pay for, the fact is, we're not where we need to be. we're not where we have to be to sustain the life that we have to have here in Clyde. So council, again, as Mr. McGuire pointed out, it is expensive, it is hurtful, it hurts us, but it has to be done if we're going to sustain this. So, but council has the choice to make on this, so.
I would just offer one more thing. You
Yes.
know that the USDA, which was gonna be the primary funding mechanism, the USDA told you in all the meetings with the USDA that the rate structure
Yeah.
did not support and could not support.
Yeah.
And so you've had state agencies, you've had federal agencies repeatedly tell us. I wish there was a different outcome,
Yeah.
but that's the reality that we're facing right now.
Well, we've tried very hard to not pass along debt to our citizens. We've done that for years, and we've done it, honestly, we've done it to the detriment of our citizens, because now because we haven't done things maybe that we should have done by passing on the expense of what it costs to go on Abilene Water when we do that. Instead of turning that over to the citizens, we've paid that with, with what we have in the city. And the city doesn't have that. We cannot continue to eat those kind of costs and the cost that it takes to fix our infrastructure. So we have to build that up. This is where we're at. Council have any other thoughts or comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the utilities rate increase as proposed.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Councilman White to adopt the utilities rate increase. I have a second.
I'll second.
I think Mr. Rector got in on you. Have a second by Councilman Rector. Individual again. All right, then this is a group vote, so all those in favor? Passes 5-0. Thank you. 9.5, consider an act upon accepting the notice of election for the general election of November 5th, 2024. Is that Ms. Thornton?
It is. We do have 5 people running, and so I just need to put the notice out that we will be having an election on November 5th.
Very good. Council have any thoughts or questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to post the notice of election to the general election.
Make the motion that we post the notice for general election. Second.
Motion made by Councilman McGuire, seconded by Councilman Martin. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Consider with possible action approving the election contract between Callahan County and the City of Clyde for the November 5th, 2024 general election. Ms. Thornton?
We always partner with the county, and they do our early voting and our election day, and they will have polling locations in Baird, here in Clyde, and they hire all the staff. They do all the machines and the calibration and all that. So, and we've done this for several years. I think it's easier for our citizens. They only have one place to go to vote. They don't have to run all over town trying to hit different locations. So she sent me over the ballot, and I will tell you the presidential election is on there. So, yeah.
All right, very good. Council have any questions for Ms. Thornton about this?
And it is
Yes.
a more cost-effective
It is-
mechanism?
It is much more cost-effective to partner with the county than us have our own machines, have to calibrate, have to order the ballots, have to do the staffing. It's expensive to do it, but not as expensive if we were to do it ourselves. We probably save between $5,000 and $7,000 by partnering with the county.
Thank you.
Very good. Anybody else have a question? Then I'd entertain a motion to approve the election contract.
Move to approve the election contract.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Kaufman, seconded by Councilman McGuire to approve the election contract with Callahan County. All those in favor? Passed unanimously. Thank you. 9.7, consider with possible action appointing 2 members to the EMS board for 2 years, for 2-year terms beginning October 1st, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2026. Mr. McGuire?
Mr. Mayor, council, citizens, we have 2 board seats on Citizens EMS. Currently, we have Ms. Thornton and Mr. McGuire are the 2 board members. Their terms are up. It's due for reappointment. So
I would ask, Mr. McGuire, are you interested in retaining your position on EMS board?
I'll continue to serve.
Ms. Thornton, same question?
That is up to y'all. If y'all would like for me to continue to serve, I will. If y'all have somebody else in mind, I'm fine with that too.
Does council have any thoughts on anyone they would like to see appointed to the EMS board? All right, then I would entertain a motion to reappoint Paul McGuire and Connie Thornton as sitting members of the EMS board.
I'll make that motion.
Councilman White has a motion. Does anybody have a second? Have a second by Councilman Martin. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Consider and act upon a resolution of the City of Clyde, Texas, revising the Personnel Policy Manual, Section 8.4, benefits at time of separation to mirror the vacation paid out when an employee terminates in Section 5.14.2, number 10. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, council, citizens, when we do our annual policy review, we found that there was a discrepancy in the last paragraph of the policy manual. It conflicted with the previous. The employee terminates in Section 5142, number 10. So striking that last paragraph completely aligns the policy manual, so there's no conflict.
Very good. Council have any questions for Mr. McGuire concerning this?
Does striking that section bring the document to agree with what is
Yes.
desired?
Yes, it just, there was conflicting verbiage between 2 different separate paragraphs in 2 separate sections, and this just cleans up the language. It only needed to be in the one section.
Thank you.
Council have any other questions or comments? Then I would entertain a motion to revise the personnel policy as stated.
Make the motion to revise the personnel policy.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman McGuire, seconded by Councilwoman Kaufman. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you. 9.9, consider and act upon an ordinance of the City of Clyde, Texas, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Clyde, Texas, amending Chapter 15, fees and other charges by increasing the fees for camping and cabin rentals, incorporating recitals, providing a repealer, providing for severability, and setting an effective date. Mr. McGuire?
Mr. Mayor, council, citizens, this is something that we had lengthy conversations in the budget workshop about. This is something that council brought to everybody's attention in the workshop, that during festival at the lake, there were people hooked up to RV sites that were using water, that were filling up swimming pools, portable swimming pools, things like that. And it wasn't reflecting in the fee schedule, and we were actually losing money on that. The water at Clyde Lake, we actually, for the campsites and the campgrounds, we actually purchase from, which is kind of paradoxical that we produce the water and sell it to EULA, but that's EULA's water supply corporation out there, so we in turn have to buy the water back from EULA for Clyde Lake, so for the campground and the RV sites. So this is just so that we're not losing money on that end as well.
And then the fees and the cabin rentals and stuff, we're going up on those.
So the cost of linen and everything of maintaining the cabins and the clean out after they've been renting and putting them back, the increase in the cabin rental covers the cost of what it costs to clean and do linen and resurface so that it's ready for rental again. And those aren't costs that are passed on to the citizen. That's costs passed on to people that are renting the cabins.
Council have any questions for Mr. McGuire? If not, what? Oh, did you have something? If not, I would entertain a motion to amend the Code of Ordinances as stated.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion by Councilman Rector, seconded by Councilwoman Kaufman to amend the Code of Ordinances. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to 10.0, this is your financial statement. Council's had an opportunity to look over the financial statement. Have any questions, thoughts, concerns, discussion? Anybody find anything in there they want to talk about tonight? All right, we're seeing nothing with the financial statement. I may entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, so now can you answer questions for us?
You can come to City Hall tomorrow, and we will talk. I will make myself available to talk. But we cannot, the meeting is adjourned, therefore we can't continue to be here, or it's a called meeting, and we can't do that. It's again against the law as far as that goes. So we cannot all sit here and go. Council will have to disperse so that we don't have a quorum. But again,